Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. So today we're going to continue on with what we've been working on. We did cornerback, we did edge, which was a 2-day ordeal. Today should be 1 day. It might be a little bit jam-packed, but that's why we got to talk a little bit fast, and that's what we're going to do. But first and foremost, it's been heavily requested, and so we're going to make sure to do it. We're going to start a new quick little segment here where Colin, the resident scout over here at Packernet, is going to give us his top prospects at each position. Today he's going to do 3 because we skipped the first 2. So he's got cornerback, he's got edge, and he's got defensive line. And he's going to very quickly give us the breakdown on who his top prospects are. This, of course, is the genius that predicted the Packers would select Christian Watson. That was his top prospect. And so that's why we have decided to employ him here for chicken nuggets and waffles. But all right, let's get started with Colin's podcast of the day thing. We haven't named it. We should probably name it. But here we go.
Colin's up in the spotlight, draft day dynamite. 2025 prospects ready to ignite. He's got the speed, the moves, the flair, breaking down the rookies like nobody's there. Colin's picks, let's rock this draft.
First up, Colin's top cornerback prospect for the Green Bay Packers is
Benjamin Morrison.
Benjamin Morrison. Real quick, let's hear your scouting notes on Benjamin Morrison.
Shows impressive speed. Sticks to his man. Covers receivers well and tackles well.
These are, by the way, Colin's. He's not just reading off somebody else's notes. I asked him to make some notes on his guy on why he liked him the best. And so there you go. All right. Next up, edge rushers. Colin's top edge rusher was actually Abdul Carter. We're going to leave that one out because he's not within reach. The next one is potentially in reach. Drum roll, please, Colin. Who is your top edge rusher?
Jalen Walker.
Jalen Walker, the 6'1", 243-pound edge rusher out of Georgia. All right, Colin, let's hear your scouting notes on Jalen Walker.
Slips past blockers, gets around tackles with speed and bend, hits hard and tackles well.
And then finally, for today's class of defensive tackles, who is, drumroll please, your top defensive tackle prospect for the Green Bay Packers?
Walter Nolan.
Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss, also happens to be my favorite. All right, Colin, let's hear your scouting notes on Walter Nolan.
Works his way around blockers. Tackles reliably in the trenches. Hustles off the edge to chase down ball carriers.
I was so happy when he did defensive tackle, and I looked at his grades and saw Walter Nolan at the top. I was like, yeah, dude. Yeah. But we thank you for your service, O Grandmaster Wizard. All right, let's get through this. So, defensive tackles. I want to try to do all of them today. We'll see how it goes. We have Alfred Collins, T.J. Sanders, Darius Alexander, Tyleik Williams, Derek Harmon, Walter Nolan, Kenneth Grant. Again, we're looking at potential second-round prospects according to the big board because the Packers could possibly reach into the second round. Some of these guys are a little bit further outside. Alfred Collins is at 63, which is the back of the back of the back of the second round. Plus, he's a 6'5", 332-pound nose tackle. Reaching for a guy like that in the first round, I really can't imagine it, but I don't want to leave it up to chance. Also worth noting, again, that's just the NFL mock draft database consensus big board. That's not a unanimous opinion. There are other people like Shamar Turner who, according to the Beast Draft Guide, would be a second-round candidate. I'm not going to put him in there. Shamar Turner's at consensus 76, so we're going to just leave it at this. Alfred Collins, 6'5", 332. He's got 10-inch hands, 35-inch arms, 85-inch wingspan. He is 23 and a half years old. He's one of two guys that's got a little bit of an age issue, Darius Alexander being 24 and a half years old, which is a big one. Everybody else is, Tyleek is 22, just turned 22. The other guys are 21, so it's another pretty young group. He does have the longest arms and the biggest wingspan by a pretty wide margin at 85 inches. 83.75 for Derek Harmon is the second longest. Decided to watch his game against Florida. Florida has a very good offensive line, including along the interior, and it was Alfred Collins' third best game of the season. His grades are phenomenal, by the way. 87 overall, 85 run defense, 70 pass rush. The stats suck, but it's to be expected for a big dude. All right, so the goal here is to see the vision. Look, he's a run defender, he's a nose tackle, he's a one tech, whatever you want to call him. I know the Packers are looking to replace the one tech that we lost, Slayton, and I'm all for it. I think in theory, I love the idea of having these big, massive people, but every time I sit down and watch them, I can't get into it. It is a passing league. Most of the time, these teams are passing, and their ability to get to the quarterback is garbage every single time. Now, we know that, and that's fine, and we get it. I just struggle with first round to me is off the table, unless they're, super athletic guys. We could talk about Kenneth Grant, who potentially could be a run defender or Walter Nolan. These guys are run defender, but I'm just saying, if you're going to get a guy that is just a massive 332-pound human being, or a 329-pound guy like Tyleek Williams, or whatever, they need to be just freaking dominant in that respect. If you're a second-round pick, if you're, fourth round, fifth round, then fine. We're going to try to get you off the field and passing downs as best as we can. Otherwise, do your best. Alfred Collins, I guess we'll start with the negative. I just, first of all, struggle with the fact that he will not offer pass rush. And I know people disagree. That's not true. Yes, it is true. His pass rush stats in college suck. It's the same thing people said about Slayton. Oh, no, I watched his highlights. He actually can provide. No, he can't. He will not provide pass rush. There will be instances where things happen when the play breaks down, or if the quarterback escapes the pocket and he chases him and the quarterback's like, and throws the ball away. That's technically a pressure. Great. But I just have really high expectations in your run defense. Now, he had some really nice plays in run defense, no doubt about it. But there's a couple things that I'd like to see. Number one, I don't want to see you getting blown backwards. That includes with double teams. At least anchor and don't get moved. He gets blown back way too often. Secondly, even though you don't really have a lot of speed and you're probably not getting to the quarterback anyways, if you have a one-on-one, I expect you to dominate that human being. You are bigger and stronger than everybody else on that football field. When it's a mano-a-mano with a center who's probably 290 pounds and you can't really move him backwards and you have to use a spin move to get around him, I'm having serious problems here. Now, on the positive side, one of the things I love about him is it's hilarious because when you watch the All-22, they give you two angles. There's the side angle and then the rear angle. When you watch the first angle, which is the side angle, similar to a TV angle, just, wider and covering the whole field, it's so easy to identify which one is Alfred Collins. Everybody else looks like a freaking midget next to him. From the rear view, there's a guy 99 that looks way bigger than him. And it's like this optical illusion I just could not figure out. I'm like, 99's bigger than him. So I went and looked up 99, and they said he's like, 312 or something. I'm like, there's no way. The crazy thing about Collins, and this is probably going to work to his credit, at almost 6'6", he's not fat. He doesn't look like this big, wide nose tackle. He looks, again, from the back, like, he doesn't have this girth to him. He looks slender. He looks kind of like a long, lean pass rusher, like an edge rusher. It's only from the side when you can kind of see the length of him and how high his back is compared to the other guys that he is clearly bigger than everybody else. So the point is, at 332, he can carry it really well. You can see on some of these run plays where he kind of is able to dive and wrap these guys up and bring them down. It's another thing I can't stand. If you're a big old nose tackle and they're running through your arms, that can't happen. I haven't seen that as the case with Alfred Collins. If he gets you, he's going to get you. I think the only thing I wish that there was is a little bit more strength, and maybe you can put him in the weight room and make him a little bit stronger. He needs to be able to anchor against double teams. You should not be moved on a double team, right? I'm not expecting you to necessarily make the play, but you need to occupy both of those blockers. Do not move and let the other guys come make a play. And if you happen to be able to get an arm out and make a tackle, that's awesome superstar status. And then on one-on-ones, you need to blow people up. And he's not doing really either of those things, and that's the only thing that makes me nervous. But I can see the appeal as a guy that clearly, according to his PFF grade, dominates against the run. Really good tackler. Really nice frame, which you can probably do a lot with. You know, he's, again, like a lot of these 330-pound guys are 330 because they're kind of fat. He's not really fat. I'm not saying he's ripped like Aaron Donald was, but he's got a great build, and I think that's going to be really appealing. But for me, I would rather that be more of a third-round pick, just because, again, nose tackle I do not want in the first round. In the second round, you need to dominate as a nose tackle. If you're not doing that, then I'm looking at beyond the second round. Just my personal opinion. If they take him in the first, I'm sorry, I'm pissed. I just am. First round, you have to be a pass rusher. Second round, you can be just a nose tackle, but you better be freaking dominant, and he's not. Can he be appealing as our next TJ Slayton replacement? Absolutely. I would like it to be third round or later. That is my official stance. All right. Alfred Collins is number 8 on the Beast Draft Guide. 1-year starter at Texas. Collins played nose tackle and defensive coordinator Pete Kwiatkowski's front. I wonder if that's a relation to the defensive tackle that played in Chicago for a while, Kwiatkowski. Although he saw most of his 24 snaps over the B gap. Oh, that's the end of the sentence. He's a nose tackle, but saw most of his snaps over the B gap. Highly recruited out of Austin, he was given an underachiever label by some while playing behind Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy in 2023. That's also worth noting, is that he was kind of behind those guys. But he obviously did better in 24 when he was given more opportunities. Elite tackle to missed tackle ratio in 2024, 55-2. That is fantastic. And again, that's a big thing. You know, there's a lot of players that are able to get to the ball carrier but can't get him down, right? Yeah, I can knife through the offensive line and then miss the tackle. What freaking good is that? So, you know, being able to be strong enough to get yourself into a position at a higher rate than normal, which I think he is, and when I get there, he is going down, that is a big appeal. Blocked a field goal as a senior, 6 batted passes at the line in 2024. He's a big dude. He's almost 6'6", tied for number 2 in the FBS. Played more snaps in 24, but effort level didn't decline. Proven durability, played 64 of 65 games over 5 years. That is impressive. The 5 years thing is not great. The age at 23 is not great, but he is a big, durable dude. On the negative side, he missed part of the draft process because of a left calf strain. Played only 1 season as a full-time starter. Alfred Collins is the second of 4 kids, 3 girls and a boy. Born and raised just outside of Austin, Texas, with his parents Bernard and Benita. His mother, who teaches math in the Bastrop School District, played college basketball at Texas from 90 to 94, just got a degree in 23. Colin's older sister, Kennedy, surpassed 1,000 career points in Cedar Creek High and played collegiately at Houston Baptist. His cousin, Trent Brown, a Bastrop native, is a 10-year NFL offensive tackle. Oh, Trent Brown. That's crazy. That's his cousin. Has played for the 49ers, Patriots, Raiders, and Bengals. Growing up, Collins was a standout basketball and football player. He attended Cedar Creek High, which didn't have a varsity program until 2012. He played on the offensive and defensive lines. Sophomore year, he went to varsity as a defensive end, named the district newcomer of the year. Breakout junior season, took home honorable mention All-State, first-team All-District, District Defensive Lineman of the Year honors. As a senior, he helped Cedar Creek to a 5-5 finish, first non-losing season in school history. That sounds like when I played football in middle school. We didn't win a single game. Probably part of the reason I never played football again. Literally didn't win a game. Also lettered in basketball and track at Cedar Creek, averaging 11.9 points, 8.3 rebounds per game over his 4-year varsity career on the hard court. 4-star recruit, second-ranked strong-side defensive end in 2020 recruiting class behind 23 first-rounder Miles Murphy, a number 8 recruit in Texas. He was the number 63 recruit nationally, became well-known on the recruiting trail after his sophomore season, helped himself at camps. The offers started pouring in during his junior year, narrowed down to 5 options: Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas, Texas A&M, ultimately committed to Texas, the program he'd rooted for growing up, where his mother played college basketball. He was a second-ranked recruit behind Bijan Robinson, former head coach Tom Herman's 2020 class, took advantage of an extra year of eligibility because of COVID. Three-time member of the Big 12 Commissioner's Honor Roll and graduated with a degree in Human Dimensions of Organization. What the heck is that? I gotta look that up. I'm sorry. Focuses on understanding human behavior, organizational dynamics, and the interplay between people and systems within workplaces. So you're trying to get hired as some kind of a consultant. How do you get involved in something like that? I mean, I'm sure it's a solid degree, honestly. I mean, those consultants make ridiculous amounts of money, as we've learned recently. Anyways, so there you go. There's the first big man of the group. Next up is TJ Sanders. TJ Sanders is, get over to this one here, 6'3.5", 305, 4.95 40. Strangely, 3 guys had a 4.95. It's just like on the dot. But clearly the more slim, athletic guys, 1.67 10-yard split is the fastest of the entire group. To give you an idea of how blazing fast that is, actually, I got Darius Alexander wrong here. Let me double check that one. Yeah, so the other 2 guys, Darius Alexander had a 1.71, and Derek Harmon had a 1.74. 1.67 is fat, and obviously the 10-yard split is way more important than a 40-yard dash for a defensive tackle. So here's the deal. I'm borderline, again, really doubt it happens. I am borderline if he went in the first round, talking about TJ Sanders out of South Carolina. I get it. I don't think it's going to happen. Be over the moon if he was a second-round pick, but I get it. So not only is TJ Sanders have the really impressive 10-yard split, like really impressive, but when you couple that with, and I'm not surprised, but I had to go look, his explosion grades. This is via RAS. He had a 31.5-inch vert, which is an 8.5 out of 10. He had a 9.04 broad jump, which is about a 9 out of 10. His explosion grade was listed as great, as was his speed, and he has a 9.38 RAS. So he's got the requisite RAS for the Packers in the first round. He's 21 years old, so he's plenty young. But when you watch him, he's a little smaller, right? Obviously, he's a smaller guy, and that's going to show up at times. He's going to get pushed around a little once in a while. Usually, if he's trying to get past you, he gets pushed from the side. He's going to go flying a little bit, just based on weight. But first of all, the explosion out of his stance can cause a shock to these offensive linemen where they just get jolted back. He also has a lot of strength and athleticism to get around these guys. So not only does he blast them initially, but he does a great job of shedding them and getting off of it and getting around. There is a video of him, much like the one with, Kenneth Grant or whatever, chasing a guy down from behind. Now, it's more impressive at 330, but still, I don't know if it was a running back out of the flat or a wide receiver, and he didn't catch him, but he was the one, he was there. So for a team looking for a penetrating style defensive tackle, this is a guy that can shoot through a gap very fast, because again, boom, he is out of the gate like a rocket. He has real good hands to get people off of him, and he's just a terror. When he starts running to the side, you watch these offensive linemen falling down. It reminds me of some of these edge rushers where just trying to contain him, kind of like Mike Green. Mike Green is such a reckless, just crazy person. These offensive linemen are not only getting stunned because he's strong, but when they try going laterally to stick with him, they're dying, falling all over themselves, trying to keep this guy away. So, count me as a pretty big TJ Sanders fan. I can see the vision. You can say he's a little smaller at 6'3.5", 305. But I think he's plenty strong. 80-inch wingspan. Again, 20 years old. He's got the second largest hands of the group. So he's got some big old hands to get on those offensive linemen, and he uses them well. And he's freaking tenacious, man. I dig some TJ Sanders for sure. And again, it's one of those where if there's a shock, like, you did what, you freaking idiots? TJ Sanders. I would be sitting here going, I kind of get it a little bit. I kind of get it. By the way, 77 run defense grade and an 82 pass rush grade. He had 5 sacks, which isn't super great, but 33 pressures on 255 attempts. And again, that 82 pass rush grade is pretty important because there are a lot of times when he'll dominate an offensive lineman and it doesn't necessarily show up on the stat sheet. 2-year starter at South Carolina, Sanders was a versatile defensive tackle and defensive coordinator Clayton White's 4-man front, aligning up and down the line of scrimmage. Late bloomer, Sanders didn't focus on football until his junior year of high school. via an NFL scout. He says the coaches say he really matured and went from being late to meetings when he first got there to becoming a guy who sets the example of how to carry himself as an upperclassman. That's also very cool. And you can see it in his grades, PFF grades. So year 1, he didn't really play. Year 2, he was kind of a 50-50 starter, had a 57 grade. Year 3, he got promoted up to being a starter, 72 grade, and then an 82. So go figure, he starts showing up to meetings, applying himself more. He starts getting more time and getting better as a football player. Taneri, a.k.a. TJ Sanders, one of 4 kids, grew up in Marion, South Carolina with his mother, Letitia Williams. His younger brother, Tyshawn, played football at Marion High, redshirted in 24 as a cornerback at App State. Sanders also has several other relatives who played college football, including his cousin, Quaysheed Scott, who is a rising sophomore defensive back at Kentucky. Growing up, Sanders started playing basketball in elementary school. It became his go-to sport, played rec football in middle school, primarily on the offense side of the ball, but wasn't feeling it, and decided to quit to focus on basketball. Attended Marion High, 4-year varsity letterman in basketball. Junior forward, he earned All-State honors and led the program to a 2019-2020 regional title while averaging 18 points, 12 rebounds, blah, blah, blah. At the coaxing of his friend and coaches, Sanders returned to football before his junior season and moved to the defensive line for the first time. He got 26 tackles, 2 sacks his first season back on the field and started receiving recruiting attention, so he shifted his focus to football. As a senior, Sanders led Marion to an 8-2 record, 2A state championship, finished the final season, stats. He earned All-State honors, was named 2020 Defensive Player of the Year, also played for the basketball club team Wall SE throughout high school. 3-star recruit, Sanders was the 81st ranked defensive lineman in the 21 recruiting class, number 8 recruit in South Carolina. Several Division II basketball programs recruited him, but after he returned to football as a junior, he started receiving attention from FBS schools and told recruiters he would play football in college. This all kind of makes sense too, right? He doesn't like football. He wants to be a basketball guy. He's not as good at basketball as he is at football. So he's like, I can go D2 basketball and not go anywhere, or I can explore football where I've barely ever played and FBS programs are recruiting me to come full ride to play for their universities. So he gets in there and he's not feeling it. He doesn't like football, or at least it's not his passion. It's basketball. So he's probably a little pouty or whatever. He's just going through the motions, dragging his feet. He built an appreciation over his time at South Carolina, which he spent his entire time there, which is also rare. After the junior season, he attended off-season recruiting camps, picked up first scholarship offer from South Carolina, added offers from Syracuse, Tennessee, and a few others before announcing his Final Four: NC State, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, and West Virginia. On July 4th, before his senior season, Sanders committed to the Gamecocks and stayed loyal to the program after it fired head coach Will Muskamp. Midway through the 2020 season, he was a second-ranked recruit in head coach Shane Beamer's first class in Columbia. Sanders graduated with a bachelor's degree. He elected to skip the senior season and was invited to the Senior Bowl. All right. We'll take a break. We got Darius Alexander out of Toledo, pretty much a copy-paste of TJ Sanders, exact same height, weight, 40 time, pretty wild. We'll look at him in a minute. We'll be right back. Darius. What do we do here? I would put him in a similar camp in that if he was a first-round pick, I'm not super upset. I know a lot of people would be. It's because I can see the vision, and it just means the Packers buy into it. Here's my struggle. Unlike TJ Sanders, Darius Alexander, I don't want to say he's primarily a run defender, but he plays like I wish Alfred Collins played. He kind of reminds me of Walter Nolan a little bit, which, to be fair, Walter Nolan is 296. So Darius Alexander is here's my problem. I struggle when you have like a 330-pound guy whose primary asset is pass rushing. I also struggle when you have a 300-pound guy that's 6'3" and his primary asset is run defense. Now, that's not necessarily fair because he can use all these things as a pass rusher. He's so powerful. These are my favorite type of defensive tackles, by the way. It's why I like Walter Nolan. A lot of times they don't pan out. It's kind of like when you watch these speedy, shifty, smaller receivers that are uncoverable, and I love those guys, and they never pan out in the NFL, and I just for the life of me can't understand why. These are similar guys. And I'm not saying they never pan out. I'm just saying it feels like a cheat code. He eviscerates offensive linemen. Now, I also had a problem with the amount of film that I had on the guy. I watched him against Western Kentucky. He should have had a 99 PFF grade. It was embarrassing what he did to those people. If he had, and this is what I said about what I want from 330-pound guys, if he had a one-on-one, he threw them back 5 yards. It was stupid. Just get the heck out of my way. You're an idiot. He not only knocks people back, he throws them out of the way, and because he's smaller, he has more speed. He doesn't look quite as fast or nimble as TJ Sanders, and his agility scores would kind of back that up. He's got the explosion, not the agility. He does have longer arms. He's got one of the longer arms in the group as compared to like TJ Sanders, so maybe that is part of the equation here. But, I mean, he will lock into a guy, bench press him, and then he has control, and I love that. At that point, it's over. If I want to go left, I'm going to throw you to my right. If I want to go right, I'm going to throw you to my left. I'm seeing offensive linemen being thrown all over the place. But Western Kentucky, not a super big program. The biggest program I can find was Illinois in 2023. I don't like it because I have to go back a year, so you're losing a year of development. And then on top of that, Illinois, although they do play some bigger programs and whatnot, their offensive line sucks. But the question is, did I still see it? Now, there is complexity added. It's a much bigger, more complex program. They're running, stretch zone type run plays, so you're lined up against a guy, and the guy to your left comes over and hits you from the side. It slows you down a little bit where you can't just dominate the man in front of you. But he still did it. He still held off on double teams. He still was able to throw offensive linemen out of his face. I don't know if I believe it. And this is a problem I have with a lot of guys. Like I can see the pieces. I don't know if you go to the pros if you're dominating NFL offensive linemen this way. And if you lose that ability, what do you have left? That's my problem. You have this ability that is awesome. It's that you're powerful. But if against NFL players you're not anymore, I don't think you have anything left to offer. You become just a dude. You're not super agile. You're not super fast. I mean, you're relatively speedy and whatnot, but you're just a dude. So that's the question. And again, if he gets drafted, it's by a team that believes what they're seeing. So can I see the vision? Unquestionably, I can see the vision. But I am very concerned about if it's real. Alexander is number 7 on the old big board here. 2-year starter at Toledo, played primarily a 3-tech position and defensive coordinator Vince Carey's hybrid front. He initially played him at offensive tackle his first year in the program before moving him to the defensive line. His development was more gradual than immediate, but he flashed high-end ability over his final 2 seasons. He didn't disappoint under the microscope at the Senior Bowl practices. That's going to be big, too. The Packers, first of all, love the Senior Bowl standouts, but also that's where you get to see, okay, he plays at Toledo, all this stuff. Let's see you against these guys going into the pros. If he has a good Senior Bowl, that answers a lot of people's questions. He says his peak plays are reminiscent of Leonard Williams, which is a pretty awesome compliment. Says he was dominant against stiffer competition during the Senior Bowl practices. On the negative side, single-digit career sacks over 59 games in college, and will be 25 as a rookie. That's another huge knock, is his age. He is an older dude. Darius Alexander, one of 4 kids, grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. His mother, Taya Alexander. His younger brother, Darian, played defensive back at Division II Anderson as a freshman before entering the transfer portal. Alexander has a 6-year-old son, Messiah, who lived with him in Toledo the past few years. Alexander, I didn't have a dad growing up, so my goal is to give Messiah everything. That's pretty cool. You always it's not always the case, but you assume a little bit more maturity with football players coming in with kids. It forces you to grow up in some ways, so I kind of like that, assuming he's a good dad and, lives with them and whatnot. Alexander attended Fort Wayne High. He was a 4-year varsity letterman, played both ways, offensive tackle, defensive tackle. He earned varsity reps as a freshman, continued to make an impact on the defensive line as a sophomore. As a junior, he earned honorable mention All-State honors. After 3 state losing seasons, he led Fort Wayne to a 9-3 record as a senior. Alexander finished his final year with 87 tackles, blah, blah, blah. Earned first-team All-State and Conference Player of the Year honors. Also played offensive tackle and had rushing touchdowns as a senior. Alexander lettered in basketball and track at Fort Wayne, setting personal best 45 feet 8 inches in the shot put. 3-star recruit, Alexander was a 130th ranked weak side defensive end of the 29 recruiting class, number 30 recruit in Indiana. Karloftis was number 1 that year, earned an invite to the opening camp in 2018. Alexander went overlooked by most FBS programs in the area, but Toledo identified his talent early and was one of only 2 schools to offer him, including them and Bowling Green. He committed to the Rockets, was the 12th ranked recruit in head coach Jason Candle's 2019 class. Played offensive tackle before moving to the defensive line. Okay, next up, we got a big one, Tyleik Williams. And by big, I mean another big dude. Ohio State, 6'2.5". He's actually the shortest but 334 pounds, he's the heaviest. So, big dude. 174, 10-yard split. I don't know how we have a 10 and not a 40. He must have got hurt halfway through. It's also unofficial, but 174, 10-yard split. He's, as a shorter guy, also has shorter arms and wingspan. He has actually the shortest arms and shortest wingspan. 22.16 years old. Hand size is perfectly adequate, though. Does not have an RAS, so I can't really use that as a metric. So the cool thing is, his best game in 2024 was against Iowa, and they have a freaking phenomenal offensive line. So it's a perfect game to watch. All right, dude, look, I'm about 5, 6, 7, 8 plays in. I'm freaking all in. Not the first round, because he cannot rush the passer. But again, what did I say? If it's a second round, one tech, nose tackle, whatever, he better be a freaking dominant dude. This is the first time I got chills watching a guy. I love when I get chills. He's everything I want in a one tech. He is a bigger Mike Daniels. He's violent. He's mean. He's going to smack your mom right in the mouth. He does not care. He throws offensive linemen around. He drives them into the ground just for sport. The play's over. I don't give a crap. I'm not done pushing you. He's going to throw your head into the ground. He's never getting to the quarterback. In fact, he has 0 pressures and 0 sacks in this game. But, I mean, every single play, there's a guard trying, and again, very good offensive line, trying to keep him away from the quarterback. He's not going to get anywhere near it. Still, 2-hand shoves this guy. He goes flying backwards. I'm going to keep watching, but I'm always iffy on these type of players. But if the Packers are really looking hard at finding that true one tech, the Slayton replacement, and they're okay with the fact that his contribution to pass rush is the fact that the other guys are going to be able to get there because of this guy's a psychopath. Fine. Not first round, not allowed. Second round, if he falls to you and you really want that one tech, bro, yeah. This guy plays with so much hatred in his heart, man. He hates when people try to block him. Just throwing people out of the way violently. Like, you can feel the anger he has that somebody's in his way as he's trying to make a tackle. So that's where I'm at with him. Not allowed in the first round. Absolutely not, because he can't touch the quarterback. Second round is the earliest, but we're talking late second round where the Packers pick. And again, if you're okay with what he's capable of, he's everything I would ask for in a Slayton replacement. Tyleik Williams is number 5 on this list here, 2-year starter at Ohio State. Williams played the 3 technique position of former defensive coordinator Jim Knowles' 4-man front. Creates more penalties than he commits is one of the positives there. I can see that. He's getting held left and right, I'm sure. Weighed more than 360 pounds when he enrolled and worked hard to keep a steady weight. That could be a problem if he's one of those guys that has a hard time keeping his weight down. But as long as he's willing to commit to what the Packers want him to be and he can be the weight that they think he should be at, he could probably slim down even a little more than he is, but maybe he doesn't have to if they're okay with where he's at. But yeah, I don't know. Missed 3 games as a senior with lower body injury, September 2024, and ankle issue, November 2024. Battled shoulder, elbow, and knee injuries throughout 2022 season. That is concerning. Tyleik Williams, 4 of 5 kids, grew up in Northern Virginia with his mother Gloria. Wanting to follow in the footsteps of his older brothers, he started Pee Wee football at age 5, first as a quarterback, moving to running back. In middle school, Williams shifted to the defensive side of the ball, played linebacker, also played basketball throughout childhood, and competed in shot put in junior high. Later went to Stonewall Jackson High in Manassas, Virginia. Because of his growing size, he moved to the defensive line, earned a starting role as a freshman, earned second-team All-District honors, quickly announcing himself as one of the better players in the area. As a sophomore, he was named District's Defensive Player of the Year, helped lead Unity Reed to a 2018 1A state playoff. As a junior, he helped the program to an 8-3 record, was named first-team All-State. 2020 season was postponed in the spring because of COVID, but Williams graduated early and didn't play his senior year. Williams lettered in track and set a school record in shot put. 4-star recruit, 25th ranked defensive lineman in the 21 recruiting class, number 6 recruit in Virginia. After his sophomore season, he picked up FBS offers from Virginia, Virginia Tech. He added offers from several Big Ten, Michigan, Penn State, and SEC, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas A&M schools, before narrowing down to a top 6, Alabama, LSU, North Carolina, Ohio State, South Carolina, Virginia Tech. Williams originally picked Alabama, but another defensive line recruit, Tim Keenan, filled his spot, so Alabama turned him down. His focus shifted to his relationship with Ohio State defensive line coach Larry Johnson, and he committed to the Buckeyes in August 2020. He was the 14th ranked recruit in Ohio State's 21 recruiting class, 2 spots ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr., graduated with a degree in sports industry. He's declined his invitation to the Senior Bowl because of Ohio State's deep playoff run. Freshman year, he was All-American at Ohio State, honorable mention All-Big Ten, enrolled January 2021. His sophomore year, he was honorable mention All-Big Ten. Junior year, second-team All-American, second-team All-Big Ten, led team in tackles for a loss, and had a fumble return for a touchdown. In 24, he was third-team All-Big Ten, missed 3 games because of those injuries. So, there you go. All right, why don't we do this? I was going to do 3 and then 2. Let's take a break here because the actual 3 first-round picks that are most likely to be picked in the first, those guys are a little bit more second-round / could be a shocking first-round pick. These are the first-round guys. Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon. Let's do them 1, 2, 3, or 3, 2, 1. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Also, and I always feel weird because it's, tragedy happens every 5 seconds, and it's weird to choose what you talk about and what you don't, but it just came across the wire now, so there's no particular reason. I just saw it, and so with that said, don't really have any details right now about what's going on at FSU, but obviously another heartbreaking story unfolding over there, so hopefully it's not as bad as what it seems. These things usually get worse over time, not better, but sometimes they're just wrong, so just thought I'd bring it up because it just flashed on my monitor here. All right. So Derek Harmon is first, probably the most popular pick for the Green Bay Packers. I've expressed a couple of my reservations. It's not necessarily a negative. It's more of a question, a bunch of questions. But guy's got an 81 run defense grade and an 86 pass rush grade. 55 pressures on 346 attempts is phenomenal. 5 sacks. Again, the sacks are relatively low. But I'm, as you know, more of a pressure guy. There are sometimes issues with why they can't get sacks, which can be a negative. But I also think a lot of times that if you have the pressures, the sacks will follow. And they can be kind of fleeting. Sometimes they're exceedingly high, sometimes they're exceedingly low. But if you can consistently beat the guy in front of you, eventually the sacks will come. But Derek Harmon, 6'4.5", 313 pounds. He ran a 4.95, so he's one of the 3. 174, 10-yard split is less than impressive. It's actually tied for the slowest with Tyleik Williams, who is 334 pounds. So he's got more build-up speed, which I tend to think would be useless for a defensive tackle. He has the largest hands at 10 and an eighth, 10 and 3/8. I've been trying to get the eighths thing down. Arms, wingspan, all that's fine, and he's 21.7 years old, so he's plenty young as well. He didn't do any explosiveness or agility testing, so we don't have an RAS, but the speed and the size are listed as great. As far as what game to watch, I am going to watch his Ohio State game. I'm going to watch the bowl game. They played Ohio State twice. His best game was Week 7 against Ohio State. However, it was primarily run defense. The pass rush grade wasn't as good. The second game was his 3rd best game. Plus, I love watching bowl games. I want to see you when you should be at your best, and guys that do rise to that occasion make me very happy. And his pass rush grade, the stats are the same, 3 pressures, no sacks, but the pass rush grade was a little higher. Still has a 90 run defense grade, but he dominated Ohio State. By far his 2 best run defense games were against Ohio State, but that is the plan. So I'm still really torn on Derek Harmon. He kind of, in a way, reminds me of my thoughts on Mike Green, where I watch him a lot of times and I just don't really get it. And then you'll see it. You'll see the flash, and it's like, oh. Like, I wanted to say he's not very strong. And then he just, whips somebody around. It's like, oh, that was in there. I didn't know that. Or he doesn't really dominate in the one-on-ones. And then sometimes he does. So I don't know if it's an effort thing or a technique thing. He's so bipolar, I can't really get a way to figure him out. So here's kind of my thought. I think he's a very good run defender. And I've been saying this about Derek Harmon since the start. He was primarily a run defender his last 2 years, but he kind of broke out this last year as a pass rusher. It was his first year even getting to 10% pressure rate. It's hard to really knock him because he had at least 3 pressures in every single game. So, he had 0 against Illinois. Every other game, 3 or more. So he obviously has some ability, to do things sometimes. I'm really confused on how badly he gets beat in the pass blocking at times. Maybe he just needs some coaching, and a coach can look at him and say, this guy has talent through the roof, and if we can just teach him some move, because there are times he gets stuck, and it's like he just kind of gives up. He doesn't really know what to do. There's other times when you can see he has some kind of a plan, and he's trying to get the guy, and he moves his arm, and he does it, and it's like, okay, it's working, but it's been 8 seconds, dude. Hurry up. Like, this has got to be boom, boom, boom. It's got to be instant. Slap his arm away, get around him, and get to the quarterback. Like, it's working. You're getting him off of you, but this is taking way too long. So I don't dislike him. I see him much more as a projection than I think other people do as this dominant pass rusher. I think he's a run defender with pass rush upside. And it's really going to come down to whether the Packers are looking at him saying, we can turn this guy into a pass rush. You know who he reminds me of? Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark is a solid nose tackle type of player who can whoop the guy in front of you, and occasionally you'll see him just blow a guy back into the quarterback. So you're talking trash about Kenny, and then he just whoops somebody and gets a sack. And it's like, well, okay, well that was actually awesome. Thank you, Kenny. And he's an underrated run defender. He doesn't really get moved very much. He does his job in the trenches like that. That's what he reminds me of. He's not as dominant as I want him to be, but he seems to be able to do a bunch of stuff. He just doesn't do cool stuff consistently enough to make me happy. But he also, final note, kind of has the ability to where I don't think this is something that won't translate. I just think he doesn't necessarily know how to do things correctly, consistently enough. But I will say I'm always skeptical of projection. Well, if we can just teach him, I know, but some guys just can't get it. If he can be dominant. If he just can't, I don't think it's going to work. Aaron Rodgers tells Pat McAfee he has told teams the money is not an issue for him. He would play for $10 million. Okay, then you should play for $10 million. No team's going to give you free money, so we'll see how that pans out. Anyways, all right. On the big board here, Derek Harmon is actually the number 2 defensive tackle, which would make him number 1 on our list because Mason Graham is not included in that. One-year starter at Oregon, Harmon lined up primarily over the B-gap and defensive coordinator Tosh Lupoi's multiple front. Flashed promise at Michigan State before transferring to Eugene and produced his breakout season in 24. Led all FBS interior defensive linemen with 55 pressures, so he's using PFF stats. Durable, didn't miss a game over the final 3 college seasons. That's obviously great. Too many undisciplined penalties in 2024 tape, roughing the passer, unnecessary roughness, hands to the face. Arrived at Michigan State at 350 pounds as a freshman. Conditioning will be key. Harmon, born and raised in Detroit on 7 Mile Road, and was primarily raised by his mother, Tiffany Sane, who battled health issues throughout Harmon's childhood. When Harmon was a freshman at Michigan State, Sane suffered a stroke that paralyzed the left side of her body. Harmon said, "She is my why and what drives me." Harmon started playing football at age 5 and was forced to play up a grade or 2 throughout most of youth football because of his size. Played for Eastside Raiders in the Detroit PAL League and saw time on both sides of the ball. He enrolled at Loyola High, a small Catholic all-boys high school in Detroit, played in one of the lowest divisions in the state, Division 7. Moved up to varsity as a freshman, played primarily on the offensive line, but admittedly didn't see a future on offense. Sophomore season, the coaches added him to the defensive line. Things started to click. As a junior, he played both ways and earned honorable mention All-State honors on defense. Despite larger schools trying to woo him away, Harmon stayed at Loyola for his senior season and led the team to a 9-3 finish, 2020 district championship. He received first-team All-State honors on defense, allowed only 1 sack as an offensive lineman. 3-star recruit, Harmon was the 117th ranked defensive lineman in the 2021 class. How cool is that, by the way? You're the 117th ranked defensive lineman, now probably going to be a first-round pick in the draft. What a climb. Several FCS programs tried to get, he picked up his first offer was Central Michigan. Several FCS programs tried to get in the mix, and he received offers from Alabama A&M, Alabama State, Austin Peay, and Morgan State. After his junior year, Harmon started to add offers from Big Ten and SEC schools, including Ole Miss and Purdue. He'd grown up a Michigan State fan and took several visits to East Lansing, but an offer didn't come from former head coach Mark D'Antonio. Harmon was leaning toward Purdue, finally received his Michigan State offer soon after Mel Tucker took over the Spartans' head coaching program. Harmon decided to stay close to his mother and committed to Michigan State. He was the 7th-ranked recruit in the 21 class. After Michigan State fired Tucker during the 23 season, Harmon entered the transfer portal, took a visit to Auburn, Ohio State, and Oregon. He initially withdrew his name from the transfer portal, mostly because of the desire to be close to his mother, but re-entered the portal 4 months later and signed with Oregon. After one season in Eugene, he elected to forego his senior year and enter the NFL draft. Well, I'll tell you this. There's no doubt this dude wants to go to Detroit, right? And it's not a terrible fit, to be honest. Now, obviously, he can, with his paycheck, he can pick up his mom and move anywhere, but it sounds like that would be kind of the dream for him. But, all right, next up. We have Mr. Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. Ole Miss is my school. Every year I got a school. This year it's Ole Miss. 6'3.5", 296. He is the lightest of the group. Didn't do any speed stuff. He has the smallest hands of the group at 9.5. Wingspan is fine. His arms and arm length is fine. And he's 21.5 years old, so he's a pretty young dude, kind of like most of these guys. I'm going to watch him against Florida. Again, very good offensive line. It certainly wasn't his best game, kind of middle of the road, but also it's a pretty good game because he's a better run defender than pass rusher. This is a little bit of a balance of both. 73 run defense grade, 67 pass rush grade, 4 pressures, 2 sacks. So the stats are actually fantastic. And it's kind of like halfway between each. And again, I just want to watch him against a big program with a good offensive line. So, some early commentary, and this is what I remembered before. I'm glad I'm seeing it again. I don't remember what game I watched, but very strong. These are the type of guys I love. He is very hard to move. He's not, the biggest issue is he's slow in long distances. Chasing to the sideline, he's not going to be your dude. In short area, though, he can be pretty agile, which is good. And again, just he's very hard to move. He's got that Mike Daniels dog in him. This play that I'm watching right now, he gets blocked by 2 guys. And he has that ability when one guy comes to throw him off, and you keep your feet planted. There's a few guys that do this where, I'm going to shed the block and I'm not moving. So he throws one guy off, he throws another guy off, and not only does he make a tackle on the running back coming, but after getting blasted by 2 different guys, he spears the running back. That is to say, he launches into his stomach and launches him straight back. It's not like he grabbed him and fell backward or grabbed him and dragged him down. He went right through that freaking guy. Yeah, very next play, the instant jolt. And that's what Derek Harmon does not have. A lot of these guys do. When he comes out of his stance, the offensive lineman goes back a yard or 2. Just on the jump, just done. It's a run play to his side. He's on the inside, but still to the offense's left side, his right side. He knocks him back, pursues to the sideline, and is able to get to the running back and drag him down. Raw power. I freaking love that. Yeah, you just can't run through his gap, man. The offensive line can't control him, and he's going to grab you and bring you down. I think my only concern really with Walter Nolan is I don't know about the upside. He's another guy that I would say is probably primarily a run defender, and he's smaller. And with that sort of lack of speed, I don't know. It makes me question if at the next level he has maybe a lower ceiling as a pass rusher. I could be wrong, but that would be maybe my biggest concern. But yes, I like Walter Nolan. I don't have a problem taking him. Certainly not, as much as I've talked him up, a slam dunk first-round pick in my mind. I don't know that I've identified a slam dunk pick yet. But one-year starter at Ole Miss, Nolan played 3 tech, tackle, and defensive coordinator Pete Golding's 4-2-5 base scheme, occasionally lining up over the outside tackle. He will be attractive for NFL teams looking for an active gap shooter with high-end upside. So not exactly what I said, but that description describes what the Packers are looking for. I mean, everything about this guy, I mean, we'll talk about it, but he was coming out of high school, a really highly recruited guy, super talented, and then you got the moniker of gap shooter with high-end upside. Sounds like a Packers Brian Gutekunst dream, assuming he agrees with that assessment. Production improved each season, finished top 3 among FBS interior defensive linemen and tackles for a loss in 2024. He had a personal foul on the 2024 Arkansas tape for extracurricular efforts. Attended 6 different programs over the last 7 years, so interview process will be crucial to his final grade. Walter Nolan is the oldest of 3 boys, grew up in Memphis, Tennessee with his parents Walter Jr. and Yolanda. He started playing football at age 5, developed into an immediate connection with the sport. Nolan continued playing at Pop Warner Middle School and started gaining attention on all-star teams. His younger brothers, Warren and Waylon, Walter, Warren, and Waylon, all right, have also futures in college football. Warren Nolan was a 3-star recruit in the 25 class and signed with Arkansas State as an interior offensive lineman. Walter Nolan started out at Olive Branch High in northern Mississippi as a freshman. He was part of the varsity team and won 12 games. Also competed in the powerlifting team, which is awesome. His breakout season was in 2019 as a sophomore. He earned first-team All-Metro honors and skyrocketed up the recruiting rankings. With the spotlight on him, Nolan transferred midway through his sophomore year to IMG Academy, the football powerhouse and boarding school in Bradenton, Florida. However, he returned home to Memphis area after just 4 months because of his mother's desire to have him close to home during COVID. Before his junior year, Nolan enrolled at St. Benedict in Auburndale Catholic school in Memphis, where he was coached by Marlon Walls, who had played defensive line at Olive Branch in Tennessee. But St. Benedict managed only 2 wins in 2020 and fired Walls. For his senior season, Nolan transferred to Powell High. So this is kind of what they're talking about. This guy can't stay at a school for more than a year, which is 10 miles north of Neyland Stadium and the Tennessee campus. Despite joining the team late, he helped Powell to a 13-2 record, 2021 5A state championship. Nolan finished his final season with really good stats, earned him several state and national awards, including Defensive Player of the Year by USA Today. Also played basketball at St. Benedict. A 5-star recruit, Nolan was the top-ranked defensive lineman in the 2022 recruiting class, 1 spot ahead of Michael Williams, and the number 1 recruit in Tennessee. He finished as the number 2 recruit nationally behind only Travis Hunter. During the spring of his freshman year, Nolan impressed at several camps and earned his first offer from Tennessee, followed by offers from Georgia, LSU, Mississippi State, Missouri, Ole Miss. The offers continued to pour throughout his breakout sophomore season, and it was clear Nolan would have his choice of colleges. The summer before his senior season, Nolan announced a Final 5 of Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Michigan, and Tennessee, but a month later, Texas A&M shot to the top of his list. He ultimately committed to head coach Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies in November of 21 and headlined the famed best recruiting class ever, which included 8 5-star signees, 5 on the defensive line. After 2 seasons in College Station, following Fisher's dismissal and defensive line coach Elijah Robinson moving to Syracuse, Nolan entered the transfer portal. He was the 3rd-ranked player in the portal and committed to Ole Miss in December of 23. Nolan skipped his senior season and entered the NFL draft. He accepted his invitation to the Senior Bowl. 2024, he was consensus All-American, first-team All-SEC, led the team in tackles for a loss. He enrolled January 2024 at Ole Miss. And finally, the consensus top defensive tackle right now, at least the one that is potentially where the Green Bay Packers could pick, Kenneth Grant. Kenneth Grant is 6'3.5", 330 pounds, one of the 330-pound guys. He ran a 5'1", 340, which is the slowest of the group, although only 3 other guys ran it, and they all 3 had 4.95s. However, his 1.72 10-yard split was still faster than Derek Harmon's. Hands, arm length, wingspan are all pretty average. He's 21.49 years old. Kenneth Grant has been pretty dominant throughout his entire college career, but he also got better every year. 3 years at Michigan, 73, 80, and then 84 his final year. His run defense was 73, 73, 88. His pass rush went 63, 78, 75. His last 2 years were really the only 2 kind of starting years, so really, you've got pass rush has been consistent for 2 years. Run defense got better from year 1 to year 2. He did not get really even close to a 10% pressure rate, though. Could be a bunch of double teams and whatnot. We can look deeper into his stats and whatnot, but just as it stands now, 27 pressures and 3 sacks on the season with 329 attempts, which is pretty low on both accounts. And I'm going to watch him against Minnesota. Minnesota's offensive line is okay. It's not great. It's not terrible. And it was one of his better games. Plus, since I'm having a hard time kind of getting sold on him, I'm going to go ahead and give him the benefit of the doubt on this one. So, I mean, it's a pretty simple evaluation for Kenneth Grant, in my opinion. I do take him up a couple steps from where I saw last time. I do see more strength and power than I remember. I think it's tough when you look at Walter Nolan and how powerful he is, and then you say, okay, that dude's under 300. This guy's got 35 pounds on him. I should see more, and I see a little less. That being said, he moves people, and he is hard to move and all that stuff. Again, if he's just a one-tech, if he's a nose tackle, if he's a run defender, he's not worth a first-round pick. He obviously is in the first-round conversation because people believe that he can be a pass rusher. And that's fine. And if you can get a guy, I mean, he's as big as he is, he can move. I'll grant all of that, even though the testing didn't really show that. You can see it on tape occasionally. If this is potentially a Vita Vea type of player, you've got a superstar. The problem is he didn't demonstrate that in college. He just didn't. In his best year, he had a 8% pressure rate and 3 sacks. And, again, the idea that, well, what about the double teams? Remember, one of the top players in this entire draft is the defensive tackle right next to him. He was the second best defensive tackle on that defensive line. He was number 2 of 2. So, yeah, he's going to get double-teamed once in a while, just like everybody occasionally is going to get double-teamed, depending on the play. But, even in the one-on-one situations, is he consistently able to show any? Not really. I mean, he has the strength to move the guy, and eventually he'll get there, but eventually he's not good enough. You've got seconds, and, I can move this guy a couple inches a second, and you're never going to get there. So absolutely, I can see the vision. There's no question about it. But you have to believe it, and I don't know if I believe it. If they get drafted, that means the Packers believe it, and I will choose to believe it as well. But I'm concerned that at this point in time, he is a run defender, and I am not expending a first-round pick, even a late first-round pick, on a run defender. And I hesitate to draft a run defender with pass rush upside. And that's most of these guys, to be honest. That's probably Nolan, too. As weird as it sounds, TJ Sanders might be my favorite of the group. I just like him a lot as a pass rusher. I think in general, I would much rather expend a second-round pick on somebody. Unfortunately, that's exactly what I said about corner, and that's probably what I'm going to say about every other position, which is why we're in the situation that we're in, where you'd probably rather have the ability to trade back and get, an extra second-round pick, like, 2 extra. You trade back into the second and get another second. If you can have 3 second-round picks, you'd just be living high on the hog here. But that's probably not going to happen. But we will continue this. Wide receiver is going to be probably what we look at next here. That will likely be a 2-parter. Maybe it'll be a 2-parter mixed with tight end. Maybe we'll do it that way. I don't know. Do have to look at offensive line. I'd really rather not, just because I just really don't think they're going to do it. But at the end of the day, also, maybe that is where the value is. So we'll end up doing that too. But starting tomorrow, we'll do probably part 1 of 2-part wide receiver series, and we're getting close to draft day, folks. I'm 7 days away. Y'all are 6 days away, depending on when you're listening to this. So anyways, have yourselves a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.